Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this morning. I hope you're all here to learn about the new independent contractor speaker form. That's what we're covering. So we're going to go ahead and jump in and get started. Today in the room, we've got a fairly large webinar team. I'm Jackie Treschel with the Connect Carolina Change Management team, and I'll be doing the presentation today. We also have subject matter experts in the room, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you who they are.
Hi, I'm Janet Rupert, Director of Accounts Payable and Travel Services.
Hi, morning. My name is Damaris Fontanes, the Independent Contractor Reviewer.
Hi, I'm Aaron Malik. I'm the Vendor Team Supervisor.
Good morning. I'm Rebecca Jones, and I'm the moderator today, and I'm with the Connect Carolina Change Management team.
All right, so thanks, everyone. So we'll talk a little bit about the format. So I have a fairly quick presentation. This is something I think everyone's going to like going forward for this if you have speakers coming in. So I have a fairly quick presentation, and then we'll do a question and answer at the end of the presentation. If you come up with something while I'm presenting, feel free to chat it in the chat window, and Rebecca is keeping track of those questions, and we'll answer them at the end. She will interrupt me if it's something that's time sensitive based on where I am in the presentation. Sometimes it's easier to answer the questions right then as opposed to referencing it back. So she'll kind of make that determination if it's something that can wait, or if we need to go ahead and answer it now. And if you have to jump off for whatever reason, this webinar is being recorded, and we'll post it on ccinfo.unc.edu, hopefully by tomorrow, but it may be early next week before it gets up there. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started and look at today's topic. So what we're talking about today is a new short speaker form. We're going to go over what the speaker form is, how you get to it in the system, when you need to use it, and then some other questions that may come up when you're trying to use the speaker form. So first things first, what is the speaker form? So in a nutshell, and this really is a nutshell, if you've heard my presentations before, I say in a nutshell and then it's like a whole lot of explanation. This is really a nutshell for this one. So it's a short form for when you when you're going to pay speakers who are only on campus for one day. So the important words here are speakers and one day. We're going to break that down a little bit as we go, but just remember speakers and one day. So when? It is going to go live tomorrow, so that's Friday, September 27th. So when you come in tomorrow and you have that speaker that you're ready to pay, you'll be able to use this function in Connect Carolina. So let's talk about how we're going to get to that speaker form. So in Connect Carolina, I'm going to make a quick plug for using that Admin Work Center homepage and going through the Finance Work Center because it's less clicks and less remembering the navigation. So if you're on your Admin Work Center homepage and you click the Finance Work Center, it shows up on the left like what I have here. When you open Accounts Payable and then you click Independent Contractor, it brings up the screen, and you know it goes to Find Existing Value, and then you need to click Add a New Value to get to what you see here on my screen. So now I know you're all like, wait a minute, this is the same place we go now to do independent contractors. In fact, it is. So what's going to happen is instead of just seeing that set ID that you see now, you're going to have a question. So the first question that you'll see is, are you submitting a form for a speaker? When you answer that yes, because it is a speaker, a second question is going to come up. If you were to have answered that no, and you click add, you're going to go straight to the independent contractor form as you see it today. So nothing changes on that. Your second question is, will the engagement be completed within one day? If you answer this question yes, then you click add. It's going to go to what looks like the independent contractor form, but you notice down at the bottom, instead of those 4 other pieces that you have to fill out, it just has the speaker checklist. Now, I'm going to go back real quick. If you had said no to the engagement question, it's going to go to the main independent contractor page like you know today. So the way to get to the speaker form is that both of these answers are truly yes. So don't put no, or don't put yes for one of them when it's really a no. You need to use it correctly. So if you're submitting a form for a speaker and the engagement is completed within one day, both of those answers are yes, it's going to go again to the speaker form, and the difference is the speaker checklist at the bottom. I'm not going to go over the top of the form here because nothing's changing on the way this gets filled out. I am going to do a quick reminder about that SSN field. So when you're filling out the Social Security number, make sure you're keying it correctly, because once you tab out of that field, it's locked and you can't see it anymore. And it kind of creates a headache for you. So just double check those when you're entering them before you tab out of that field. So when you fill in all of those fields on the top and then you open the speaker checklist at the bottom, this is the questions that you have to answer. So it's A through F, and you just answer them yes or no. Is it the only independent contractor work that the person is doing, that the speaker is doing? Is the speaker a U.S. person? Is the speaker currently employed by UNC Chapel Hill? Currently employed by another state agency? Anybody that they're related to? An employee or a regularly retained agent, and will the speaker have unsupervised contact? So you need to answer those questions, and then once you've done that, the process that you normally use with attaching documents works the same. The benefit is all you have to attach is the speaker form and the person's W-9. The speaker form will be live tomorrow morning on UNC Policy Stat for you to download and use the speaker form. So all of the other forms that are required for independent contractors, you don't have to use. So it's just those two forms, they need to be attached, and then you submit it just the same way that you do with independent contractors today. So that's how you get to it, and that's how you use the form. Rebecca, did any questions come in?
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and deal with those real quick.
What if a speaker only speaks one day but attends a 2-day seminar / educational event?
So if the speaker is being paid for the speaking engagement that lasts only a day, they are free to stay on campus and attend other events.
Okay. Another question. Do we fill out the new speaker form if the lecture is only one day, but they are staying the afternoon before and morning after? I think
Yes, you could use it under those circumstances.
Okay. And I
'Cause
think
they're only being paid for one day. You know, they come in the previous day and they're there, but their engagement that they are being paid for is one day.
Okay. I think this kind of falls along the same lines. What if the speaker is speaking just one day, but travel takes place over 2 days? Would this still be okay to say yes for one-day speaker?
They can say yes for one-day speaker.
Okay. What about advisory board members that are only here for one day?
I think that's a separate question. If the person who needs to know that can contact us at accountspayable.unc.edu.
Okay.
We can handle that question.
Okay. And I'll save that name as well.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question. Can this be used for people who are working for one day but are not speakers, such as dancers or other performers?
Currently, we are only rolling this out for speakers. We may in the future look at other types of engagements, but today it is just the speaker.
Okay.
Can I stop you there?
Yes.
Let's go ahead and we'll hold the rest of these questions.
There's a lot coming in.
until the end, because some of these may get answered in the rest of the presentation.
Great.
I don't think most of those would have gotten in there. So, so the next part is actually when to use the speaker form. So you can use the speaker form when it's a one-day speaking engagement that your speaker has for UNC Chapel Hill in this calendar year. The speaker has to be a U.S. person. So that's either a U.S. citizen or a U.S. permanent resident. The speaker isn't employed by UNC Chapel Hill. So if they work here, they're not a speaker that gets to use the form. You couldn't use the independent contractor form for them anyway if they work here. So, and then the amount being paid to the speaker is $5,000 or less. So that's when you can use it. And it's the bolded words there are really the important ones. Again, it's one day, it's speaker, calendar year, U.S. person, $5,000 or less, isn't an employee. So what if? Okay. So what if the speaker comes back to UNC Chapel Hill later in the same year? If you know that they're coming back for your department you should go ahead and set them up as an independent contractor and not use the speaker form. If this is the only time you anticipate having them at the university in this year, go ahead and use the speaker form. If another department uses the same speaker, they're going to have to use the independent contractor form. You got the bonus of having to use the speaker, of being able to use the speaker form for that. But what if you're not sure if the person qualifies as a speaker? If you're not sure and you're familiar and you're ready to use the independent contractor form, just go ahead and use that. There's no reason if you use independent contractor and they were a speaker and would have qualified, it's not going to get bounced back to you. But if you choose speaker and they really are an independent contractor, then you're going to have the work to do on the other end there. So if you're not sure, you can always use the independent contractor form the way it is now, the long form. And what if the speaker is a trainer or a musician or what we asked before about a dancer or something like that? The answer for right now is no. This is for one-day speakers only. So they're coming in, they're giving a lecture. Those are the folks that you can use the speaker form for. And also, I just want to reiterate, because this did cause a little bit of confusion in the testing piece, but when you're doing the attachments, so unlike with an independent contractor, all you need to attach is the speaker's W-9 and the speaker form that you get from UNC Policy Stat. And so now we're just going to wrap up, and I do want to just cover a couple of those things that I've talked about again. The policy information and the speaker form will be available tomorrow morning, so that's Friday, on unc.policystat.com. You probably saw a memo come out from Janet via Christine Shia yesterday that had the information in there. There's a link to a one-day speaker page that has some frequently asked questions in there. That's live now, and then on Friday, it will also link to the Policy Stat page where all of that information lives. We are updating the Requesting Suppliers and Independent Contractors Guide. So if, for whatever reason you need to refer to it, or if you're somebody that goes through and, does it occasionally so you have the book handy, it'll be live on CC Info early next week, and so you can go and download it and print it. And it'll also be in the online help for Connect Carolina. So if you don't already know about or use the online help on any page in Connect Carolina, there's a help link, and it takes you directly to the documentation that we have available, and you can do a search for independent contractors and you'd be able to find it that way as well. So again, that piece is early next week, and then the recording of this webinar will be posted by early next week. So just to summarize again, we're talking today about a short form for when you need to pay a speaker who is only on campus for one day. We covered what the speaker was and the difference around one day. You're paying them for one day of speaking, and the speaker form will be live in the system tomorrow. So did we get some more questions?
Yes, I think you've answered a lot, but I just want to make sure that we address them all.
Okay.
Okay. So it was from Gwen. This was in reference to a speaker checklist, question A. How are we to be sure about question A? How are we to know if a speaker has already spoken for another department and has already had this form completed by another department?
In the independent contractor system, if you look at find an existing value instead of the add a new value, you can search for a speaker by their first and last name. So on that screen, you're able to see what their contract term was, and if they have had a contract within that calendar year, then you know that you should use the regular IC form instead. If they have not been put in as an independent contractor, there wouldn't be a line for them, and you'd be free to go ahead and use the speaker form.
Great. In the example of a speaker receiving a fee for speaking one day but attending other events on other days, do you still use the one-day speaker form if they are paid related expenses for attending the other events? Expenses only, not service fees.
Expenses for the other days? No. We would cover that. That would be okay. But we have to remember, the engagement that we are paying for, the compensation that the speaker is going to be receiving is related to a one-day event. So that speaking engagement has to be completed within 1 day.
If we have one-day speakers who would like to receive their payment via ACH rather than by check, can we also submit the ACH paperwork?
That would be awesome. We would be very happy to have that. Yes, thank you.
Good question. Can this be used for a faculty candidate interview who has to present a seminar as part of the interview process?
That's really not what this is designed to do. We are looking at compensation for this. I mean, that's another offline question.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we speak of year, is it calendar or fiscal?
Calendar.
How will we know if another department has already used a speaker in the calendar year, requiring us to use the regular IC forms rather than the speaker form?
Again, that's looking at the independent contractor system, searching by their first and last name, and you'll see the whatever contracts that person may have been involved in. You'll also see the department number that's associated with it.
Okay. So I think we've really already covered how do we know if they've already spoken on campus. That was the
Yep.
next one.
I can answer that question now.
A comment has come in from Angie. Thank you for updating the guide. Not a question, but a comment. If the speaker form on policy stat is a fillable PDF, please make sure it is fillable on policy stat and the formatting works. I come across a lot of forms on policy stat that are supposed to be fillable but aren't. And the formatting is, and it's hidden, and the formatting is messed up. Okay.
Okay. All right. Can we take that back?
Yep.
to-
Yep.
Yep, we can take that
Thank
back
you.
and
Okay.
make sure that that works.
If a speaker is not paid and just travel expenses, we can continue to use the outside party individual form plus W-9, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why only speakers as opposed to, why only speakers as opposed to other one-time services presented?
So we have to walk before we run. We want to see how this works, how it is accepted. One of the things that we have to be very careful about, and the reason we made decisions the way we did, is it's very important to the university to be in compliance with IRS tax reporting. And we had to make sure that every engagement was analyzed in terms of, could this potentially be employment? Or are we looking at a foreign person that needs additional types of information to create the vendor? We had to look at the most streamlined portion that was available so that we could just move forward with this and see how it goes. If we can expand this later to include other types of engagements, we'd be happy to do that, but we really do need to see how this works first.
Okay. What if the speaker has a child that is a paid adjunct at the school? Would you check yes for E?
So E is the speaker his or her spouse, domestic partner, sibling, parent, or child, an employee or regularly retained agent of UNC Chapel Hill?
You would have to check yes. That doesn't mean that you're not going to qualify. You know, the types of questions that would come from that is the speaker like the spouse of this particular person that is asking for them? It's a good question and I appreciate it, but I think that we'll have to just look at those case by case.
So to be clear, on the speaker checklist, all of those are not necessarily disqualifying questions.
All of them are not, they are not all disqualifiers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if the person is being paid to watch and review a video for only an hour or two of work? They're not a speaker.
They're not a speaker.
Okay.
Not currently.
Can we share a speaker with other school, or will they have to complete another form for the same speaker?
So are we talking about another school here at UNC? Another department?
They will have to Angel, ENK, if you can please be a little bit more specific on your question there, and we'll come back to that. What if we are reimbursing for other days just speaking for one?
We're okay with that.
Okay. Can we use the speaker form if the speaker has a dinner with faculty the night before the speaking engagement and then has meeting with faculty the day after the speaking engagement?
Provided they are not being paid for the meetings that take place after the speaking engagement, it would be fine.
What if the speaker is a student employee?
That is not going to qualify. If somebody is on payroll, this can be handled through an EPAR.
We have speakers often give lecture the first day, then give lunch seminar the next day. Does this count for one-day independent contractor?
So are they being paid for 2 days? If so, we need a regular independent contractor agreement.
You said they cannot be a UNC employee. What if they have been on the payroll within the past 12 months? Can we still use?
So are we saying that this person is gone now?
I believe so.
That's how I would take it.
Yeah.
The regular independent contractor restrictions apply.
Do you have a copy of what the speaker form looks like that you could share?
It will be available on Policy Stat tomorrow morning.
Okay. Within 1 year, is this calendar or fiscal? It is calendar.
Mhm.
Is this for speakers who come from an organization where we will pay an organization rather than a speaker?
It could be for either.
Okay.
As long as it's only 1 day.
Yep.
And you anticipate it only
Now,
being 1 day.
hang on, that's a little more complex. So we're paying the organization. I'm not even sure that would qualify for independent contractor.
Right. We may need to set the organization up as a vendor, as an outside party.
Say that louder,
We
please.
may need to set up the organization as a vendor and pay the organization in that type of case. So we may not go the independent contractor route in that particular case, in which case we need to get the paperwork for
A regular vendor.
for the organization, right?
So going back to Angel ENK's question, her question was, I'm sorry, I don't know if it was a she. The person's question was, can we share a speaker with another school, or will they have to complete another form for the same speaker? And you asked if it was a school on campus, and the answer was yes.
Then the first person that gets to that speaker within a calendar year can use the speaker form. Subsequent engagements suggest a longer and more, ongoing relationship with that speaker. Therefore, we need to use the regular independent contractor checklist.
Is the one-day speaker form for fee, services, and reimbursements for the visit? That's the end of the question.
Okay, so if we are paying a fee for this speaker, this form is designed to take care of that. And yes, they can submit expenses.
Okay. When you say the speaker is a U.S. person, does that mean including H-1 visa, J-1 visa, in addition to citizen and green card holder?
Well, okay, so when it comes to the particular visa types, the answer would be no. If they're on a specific visa type, then if they're on a specific visa type, then they would not be eligible to use the short one-page IC form. But if they are a green card holder or if they are a U.S. citizen, then they would be eligible to use the short one-page IC form. So, rule of thumb, if they're on a visa type, then the answer would be no. But if they're a U.S. citizen or U.S. permanent resident, then yes, they can use the one-page speaker form.
Excellent. Can we use the short speaker form for this year for a speaker we paid last year via the traditional IC process?
Likely yes, as long as it's not in the same calendar year or there haven't been other engagements.
What account ID should we use for a speaker?
Generally, it's the honorarium form,
Honorarium.
or excuse me, account number 522 something. I can't remember. You guys know it by heart. We don't.
A guest speaker submitted by journalism and shared with other department on campus, B school.
Oh, I think that was
Who's
to
the
her
school?
question.
That was going back
About
to
the share.
Is it the
Yeah.
same engagement? I mean, if it's the same engagement, the person is, there's a joint venture with these two schools, that's a different question.
I think I could even answer the next one. When does this process go live in Connect Carolina?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. If H1 and J1 visa holder cannot use the one-day speaker form, what other steps do they need to take?
Okay, so in that particular case, they need to use the regular independent contractor form. There's also an additional foreign vendor withholding assessment. That's a very critical piece of documentation that needs to be filled out. And with the foreign vendor withholding assessment, that's a 3-page form which asks for a lot of detailed information. And there's also a lot of supporting documentation which is asked on that foreign vendor withholding assessment, which is on the bottom of page 1, such as the W-8-BEN, and if they're going to file a tax treaty claim, there's a form 8233. But the big picture is, I mean, this one particular short one-page form is not really meant for foreign speakers. It's really meant for domestic speakers. So if you're talking about foreign folks, they would need to go the route of being set up through the regular IC process, and also they need to submit all the paperwork necessary for setting up a foreign vendor.
It's great. I think you actually just answered the next question from Rebecca. What if the one-day speaker is foreign, meaning completes W-8, not a W-9? Do we automatically have to go through the foreign IC process?
That is correct. Yes, you would.
Great. What if a speaker is speaking only one day, but during that day they are speaking for multiple departments?
I think that goes back to Janet's joint venture.
Yeah.
If it's one-day speaker at the university, then you can use the speaker form. So speaker, one day.
What if we are sharing a speaker with Duke or NC State? They're only on our campus for one day, but their trip is multiple days.
So the speaking engagement at UNC would qualify.
And we have a comment. It says, good job, Janet and everybody. And then Rebecca says, thanks.
And Jamaris and Aaron. And Jackie and everybody at ITS also.
Okay, so we've caught up to all of the questions and chats. So if you want to just leave it open for another minute or two.
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna
anything to add.
Don't look too close. I'm going back through the slides here. Just as we get to the end. If you have any other questions, if you can go ahead and type them in fairly quickly. We'll leave it open for another 30 seconds or so.
Don't know that we can do that.
Yeah, so there was a request to post the question and answer online.
That'll be included in the recording.
It will be included in the recording that's posted. And I know that the web page that Christine Shia sent out yesterday Janet sent out via Christine, it does have some FAQs at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So we can pull some of these questions from today and get them added to that FAQ page, I think, fairly easily for you as well.
Thank you.
I think that's not an issue to get it so that you have those. We'll condense them into the most common questions.
Okay.
Is the look back period a calendar year or a university fiscal year?
I can answer that one again. That's a calendar year. So January to December. So if they spoke last December and now they're coming again, next week in October, if they haven't been here in this calendar year, you can use the speaker form, provided they are speaking, not playing music, not dancing, not training. For right now, just speaking.
So Arlene, where can you find the material that you might have missed on the webinar? This webinar will be posted on CC Info maybe as early as tomorrow.
Yes, that is correct. And there is on the finance, the finance.unc website, there is the page that came out yesterday in the memo. It's called the one-day speaker page, and we can reference that when we post the webinar as well.
Is prior approval needed with the one-day speaker form?
The approval processes at the department would be the same.
Okay.
I also want to add that when the speaker form is completed, creating a new vendor is the same as when you are creating a regular independent contractor.
But we would definitely want the one-page speaker form to be completed and approved before the engagement, not
Yes.
afterwards. If that's what the, if that's what the root of the question is. So.
Regarding the background check memo, does it need to go as an attachment, or can it be only in description tab for regular ICs?
So if for a one-day speaking engagement, generally, we're not going to require a background check. It's only if there is something unique about this speaking engagement that requires unsupervised contact with sensitive populations. So I wouldn't expect that there would be a lot of independent contractors required, a lot of background checks required for speakers.
Okay. And Erin, I believe you were just answering a question on the background check memo. Is that the one you just answered a question ago? Okay. Somebody said they couldn't hear you, and could you repeat that, what you just answered?
Was it the foreign vendor?
No, it was one you were just answering.
Oh, I think that was that you submit the speaker form
Right.
before
Right.
the engagement
Oh,
happens,
yes.
not after.
Okay, right, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, is prior approval needed with the one-day speaker
Right.
form?
Yeah, we want the approvals done before the engagement, not afterwards.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, she said, or they said, prior approval with finance. Okay, and we're gonna put the microphone closer to Erin. Okay, any more
other
questions? After IC is approved, do we then have to submit new vendor for approval?
Yes,
If it is on
if it's not been set up already.
Is there a limit to the number of hours for one day?
Generally, that's 24.
That's a long speaking engagement.
Well, so the other thing that comes in is the dollar amount. So it's like $5,000. You cannot exceed $5,000 or one day. I'm sorry, I'm being silly.
That's a good question, though.
Yeah. Because I guess a work day is
Right.
what, yeah.
8 hours.
But
9
it's
hours.
at that point, dollar amount comes into play.
So no other questions are popping up. We'll keep it open for another minute
Yeah,
here.
for just another minute or so.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead just to my last slide here and just reiterate, tomorrow is when this goes live. The speaker form will be live on PolicyStat tomorrow. We're going to try to get this webinar posted on ccinfo.unc.edu by tomorrow. It may be as late as Monday. We will get those questions updated as quick as we can as well and get you those answers. If you have further questions, if you have specific questions, Janet's team is the best one, and that's accountspayable@unc.edu. Or
You can contact me at 962-0747.
all right. So you can contact them directly. If you have general questions about this, you can email cc_communications@unc.edu. That actually comes to the team that Rebecca and I are on. And if we know the answer, we'll of course answer it. If not, we'll get in touch with the folks that can. That's mainly for if you have questions about the training documentation, the webinar, the recording. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Those type of things. If you need help, I do want to reiterate this piece. If you need help using this, or if there's something going on in the system that it's not working correctly, please submit a help ticket at help.unc.edu. That's the best way that we can A, track it and make sure that things are going the way they're supposed to, and B, it'll get you the help as fast as possible. If you have policy questions that you need help on or questions about the process itself, the phone number that Jamaris just gave, which was 962-0747, or accountspayable@unc.edu would be the best way to get those questions answered.
One more question came in.
Okay.
Does the $5,000 limit apply to the fee only and expense reimbursement.
It's the fee only.
Okay.
So if they have expenses that push it over the $5,000 threshold, it's okay. Okay. Good to know.
And I believe that's it.
That's it. All right. And if you do not already get our newsletter, you can go to CC Info as well, and there's a slider up there that you can subscribe to the Connect Carolina newsletter. That'll help you to know when webinars are coming, new features are going into the system, you know, that sort of thing as well. Anything else you guys want to add?
No, that's it.
No? All right. So again, I'm gonna just keep hammering it home. Speakers, one day, U.S. person, $5,000 or less for their fee. That's when you can use the speaker form.
1 calendar year.
In the calendar year, yes. And it will be available in the system and on PolicyStat tomorrow morning. That's Friday, September 27th. Anything
you.
else come in?
Thank you all for attending. We appreciate your questions
Yes.
and your interest.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.